Warning. This podcast is about to open the sealed section of spirituality.
Hey you, yeah you, we see you, you divine human being.
And we are calling you to come home.
We are ready to talk about the real shit. We're going to get real about life as a divine human being.
The good, the not so great, spirituality and taboo. Divinely Human is the podcast that's all about what it means to be human in a spiritual context.
We know it's not just about being spiritual, it's about being human too.
And that means changing poopy nappies and channeling angels.
Sometimes even at the same time. It's time for us to stop making other people's noise our own soundtrack of life.
Let's make some waves together so that we can all ride them together and create deep resonance, a sense of home in this crazy world.
Pour yourself a coffee
Or a glass of wine if that's your potion.
and sit down with your new favorite spiritual sisters
As we go on a journey together into what it means to be
a divine human being.
on this spiritual journey. Hello and welcome to the Divinely Human podcast. I am your co-host, Aleisha.
And I am Tanita.
We are so excited to be here today. Also so grateful for everyone who is tuning in. We are ready to dive into it and see what topic needs to be covered today. So I have my little box. It's not a very pretty one. It's a bit ugly today. I was using my other one for like winter solstice rituals.
Way more important.
Red container. It's filled up with some suggestions that the community has put in. Some have been pre-written from a few weeks ago and some are new. So for those who are new, we will be, and if we choose them, we will be pulling some cards at the end of this podcast before we wrap up for those people, just to say thank you for their input. So are we ready?
Yes, I think we are. And just a quick reminder, if you are keen to have your card pulled and you want to have some input into the topics that we talk about on this podcast, you can find all the details on how to drop in topics down below. But basically the easiest way is just to message us on the DH podcast page over on Instagram.
Yay. All right, let's do this. What will we be discussing today? I feel nervous.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was just about to say that. I was like, no.
One stuck to it.
Ooh.
Hey. All right. So this is an older topic from a few weeks ago. And so today we're going to be starting off with unraveling cliques. So the clickiness within the spiritual community.
Oh, okay. Are you guys ready? We've got a lot to say about this. Buckle up.
The parachute on the back.
Put the parachute on. Because I feel like we've been bagging out the spiritual community a lot lately, but truthfully, there's a lot wrong with it, and we want to bring these discussions to the limelight because it's important. I think when we're in places like this, it's important to understand, what's working, what isn't working, and what we can do to really support this moving forward. And cliques, for one, in this space can be really freaking damaging, especially to anybody who's new, anybody who's even wanting to enter the space. And it's just crap. And we've seen it a lot, right?
Yeah. And there's toxicity and negative aspects of every single community. It's not just a spiritual community. If there wasn't, then there would be no duality. And we live in a dualistic world. So it's normal. So it's okay. We're not going to be booted out. This is something that needs to be talked about. So I just think that there's a lot of reflection that needs to be done when it comes to this. And when I feel like I need to go back to when I first felt like I had a foot in this sort of spiritual community. And I kind of picked up on the energy straight away. I don't know about yourself, but I picked up on it straight away. I felt like when I first entered this space, I wasn't qualified enough. I wasn't superior enough. And I know that part of these aspects come down to my own shadow work that I had to work through. But also being an intuitive, of course, I picked up on the energy that was within the community. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't. Yes, I felt a little bit like there was a bit of a clique, like I wasn't in the cool gang and I didn't have a spot here, you know, like you have to, there's this sort of feeling like you have to claim a spot in this space.
Yeah.
And I really dislike that.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's kind of takes away from what this space is all about, right? So it took me so long to feel like I found my feet in this space, because I was constantly feeling like I wasn't worthy to be here because I didn't have, you know, this many people interested or following me, this many people engaging, or this many clients. And at the point, like when I first entered this community, I kind of didn't have any, I did have modalities, but I hadn't formally trained in any modalities. And we know how much people love to throw around like the certification being in this space as well.
People are going to be like, what? What do you mean you can do this stuff without a piece of paper hanging on a wall?
Yeah, I'm interested to know how you felt when you first felt like you had a foot in this community.
I think I came into it really naive. And I came into it knowing that I was going to be the creator of what I wanted. Like I'd come in, I always feel like I was stepping out of my real life or my everyday life. I didn't have any spiritual friends. I didn't have anybody to go to or talk to about this sort of stuff, except for my sister-in-law, which is a really beautiful, was like a late blossoming kind of friendship. But when I entered this space, I purely came on here to find like-minded people. And I don't know, I came into it knowing that I had to create that space. So I came into it a little bit naive. And I remember like knowing that I couldn't really, or having that feeling like I couldn't really turn to anybody else to soothe my need. So I just created the space. And I remember creating, what was it? It was like the behind the scenes of spiritual soul business. And I invited like 11 women to come and talk on live. And it was a really beautiful space where we just got to hear and talk to other people. But that was like the first time that I'd really talked to a lot of other people in the space that we were in and actually invited one another into a conversation. I hadn't seen anything like that previously to when I did it. And I'm not saying that I was the first one, because I definitely wasn't. It's just that I felt really small in that world. I felt like if I wanted to see something, I needed to create it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Was that the live that you invited me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That, even with that, I like picked up on like a little bit of tension, not with you, but just like the collective as a whole, like, oh my God, they're all like, there's a group of people all coming together.
Yeah.
I think as well, the clickiness can probably be rooted back to the sisterhood wound in a way.
Oh, yeah.
I think that we kind of have this feeling like we have to scramble to the top of the mountain and push down everyone around us to be able to be seen. But it's just not the case in this space. And this is when you allow it to be, and when you reflect that in your own energy and space that you hold, it can be it is a very safe space and a space where you feel held and seen. But I feel like people sit in this feeling of scarcity and having to do and be more and offer more, and it kind of turns into a bit of a toxic cycle. Do you feel that?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's also important to know that you are sharing a lot of your time with other people who are contributors to this space. You're not just an absorber, you're not just a bystander, you're not just somebody who's sitting here taking on this information. Like, a lot of the content that I put out are for everybody, but there are people out there who are specifically putting information out there for one type of person, and that might not be a sister in this space. It would be a client, somebody who they're trying to enroll into their program. So I think it's important to understand that not every piece of content was made for us. And that's really hard to make a distinction between when we're constantly seeing it in our face 24/7. And it makes us feel like we have to compete with one another. We feel like we have to show up more, be more, say more, do more. And that's just not the case, right? But it's hard to do that. It's hard to untrain your mind to think, well, they're showing up, I need to show up too. Or she's trying to, go after all the people that I'm following. It's just this really gross, competitive, like, yuck thing. But again, like, who are you following and why are you following them?
Yeah.
You don't have to follow people in this space just because they're in this space.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to admit I unfollow people all the fucking time. I do it all the time because I feel I just want to follow and I want to be around things that make me feel good, and I don't make it a personal thing. It's just all energy at the end of the day, and if it doesn't feel good or I pick up on something that seems a little bit like it doesn't have the best tendencies, I just unfollow. And that's a really healthy practice to go through. And I actually go and filter through my following and who's in my space constantly, and not just in the online space, but in the outside world as well. If something or someone isn't making you feel good, or like you have to compete or perform, it's probably not the right place or person or community to be in or around. And I think that it can become a little bit of a toxic cycle. And I felt that. I'll be honest, I really did feel that when I started off in this space. I would see, and I caught myself in that cycle too, where I would see someone bring out an offering, and I'd be like, oh, I'm not doing anything. I have to go make an offering. Or even like if someone did a live or posted a video that was like really outstanding, I'd be like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not performing enough. It, as you said, it took a while to break out of that cycle of turning it back towards itself. I feel like we try to make everything about ourselves.
Yeah, literally. But we have to, right? Because if we're constantly picking up on other people's energy, which we do on social media, it's just a given. Like, we tend to view it like it's not real life. You even heard me at the beginning of this. I was like, my real life, my everyday life, it is real life. Social media is real life, and it is part of our everyday. And if we're constantly picking up and absorbing energy that is not in alignment with us and our truest and highest values and what we're meant to be doing on this planet, then it's going to throw us out of whack and make us feel like we're completely horrible at this thing, when really we're just sensing and running off energy that isn't actually ours. So I think that, funnily enough, like, energy protection is really, really, really important in this space. And that's when I started to notice a really big difference and a really big release around, like, oh, I don't have to do things just because she's doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge thing. Feeling like you need to keep up. But keep up with what?
Yeah.
Someone else's evolution, someone else's journey that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It's such a at the start, when you first sort of stumble into that thing, it's very innocent.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come from like a malicious place or even a knowingly competitive place, really, because we turn it back towards ourselves and we just sort of judge our own performance by what the world around us is doing. And I think that also is why, and I have in the past as well, I've released stuff that just hasn't felt aligned after releasing it. I'm like, why the hell did I do that? And I'm like, oh, that's why no one signed up.
That makes sense now.
Because it's like trying to push something up a hill that's not supposed to sit on the top of the mountain, you know? And yeah, it's really difficult in this space to turn that off and just do your own thing while still connecting with people. Because I mean, the beautiful aspect about the spiritual community is it's just so full of divine connection, and you are in other people's energy and space constantly seeing what they're doing. It's such a creative space to be in. It's so full of richness and all of the things that everyone's doing. So I feel like it is really difficult to take a step back and just stay in your own lane, do what you're doing, and have that be enough and not reflect that back on yourself. But it is really difficult when you first get your footing in this space and you feel like people like band together and they're in the clique. I'm not in the clique, like, or they know them and they get like they're doing that sort of thing. So it's hard.
It is. It really is. But you know what? I would encourage anybody who feels like that to reach out to that clique and break it, because a lot of this, like you said, does stem from the sisterhood wound, which lives within ourselves. And a lot of it can just be perceived. Like, you know, I know so many people, like friends from school, who I thought were the ultimate mean girl. And then I would actually get to know them. I was like, wow, you're actually like kind of nice, but it was how I was perceiving you. So yeah, I would encourage you to reach out to those people, especially if you're getting started in this industry. Like, it's just start conversations with people. I think we forget what social media is actually here to do. It's actually here to enrich your social life, to help you connect with other people, to share what's going on in your world. And it's a really beautiful platform if you let it be beautiful. But if you let it hold you back and create all of this doubt and confusion and self-lack, it's not a very nice place to be in. Sometimes you have to break that cycle yourself.
I find a lot of the time, if I'm feeling it's energy's so funny and the universe is quite like funny and a little bit like mean sometimes, but I find that at the start, you know, in my, you know, first few months of like feeling like I was, you know, immersing myself in this space, I felt like the people that I was a bit, I don't want to say like scared of, but like weary, apprehensive too, would randomly reach out.
Really? That's so interesting.
Yeah. And I'd be like, wow. And like leave the like too scared to open the message for like 3 days. I'm like, fuck. What do I do? I'm like, but I thought that I was like, I thought that energy wasn't good. Why are they reaching out? You know, and as you said, they ended up being the most beautiful, beautiful souls. I think that when I think this is a really good reflection as well. When we feel like someone is displaying a sisterhood wound, just know that everything is a reflection. So it's always a beautiful reminder to ask yourself in that moment, am I partially responsible for this as well? Like, what am I doing in this moment to break that or to encourage that sisterhood connection and that bond? And yeah, I think it's just a really good reflection moment to have.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's nothing else you can really do other than ask yourself, okay, what does this mean for me? Because it's you're just going to waste so much energy. And I've wasted so much energy wondering, like, why wouldn't they want to do that with me? Like, why didn't they reach out to me? Or, what's going on? You can ask yourself all of these questions and it just wastes so much energy. But when you can reflect it back on yourself and say, okay, where might this actually be alive within me still? Like, where am I holding on to that? And you can do your part in releasing that and breaking it and healing it, because the sisterhood wound is major. It's gut-wrenching, especially if you have lives alive, like past lives that are really close around, around the witch wound, especially. Like, it's just horrible. And we have to do the inner work ourselves to really move through it.
Yeah. It's it's a ingrained survival, way back and in past lives, as you said, a lot of the time people were, and it's so weird. I have memories of this from past lives of women being bribed to like snitch on other women so that like they could be found out and sentenced.
Yeah.
And it's so alive within me, those memories. So I automatically, and I struggle. I have struggled. I've worked through it a lot, but I have struggled in the past with trusting women as well, trusting other women. Oddly enough, I would tend to trust men over other women. Yeah. Crazy, right? Because those ingrained memories of past lives where I have been betrayed by women who have gone and snitched, and I've been killed lifetime after lifetime for being who I am. And it can be really damaging moving forward in this space as well. I think unless we take the time to really consciously work on this, then we're still going to struggle with it constantly. And I feel like we think we're doing really well, but man, I feel it seep in sometimes still in this space. I feel it constantly. And I know it because every single time I do a personal cleanse on myself, I'm like, the evil eye energy that is sent to me is astounding.
Yeah.
And it's all comprised of people in this community. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Can't we just support each other?
Yeah, I totally hear you. That's so interesting because it's very similar for me as well. Like I have those memories as well. And I think something that's important to take away from this is you can still have a wound and hold the shadow of it and yet still move as if it's completely healed. Like it's okay to hold both of those polarities. Like, Aleisha and I, that wound is still very much alive and we're moving through it, healing different layers, and yet we're showing up in a really collaborative space. And I know that we've done so much work as if we've completely healed that. And I think that the more we lean on trusting ourselves and protecting ourselves as well, because you're so right, this doesn't take away from the truth that there are really crappy people in this space and that they want to do what's least in alignment with integrity and just do silly stuff. But we won't even talk about it. But honestly,
I mean, we could.
We definitely could. Truthfully, I think it's a balancing act between healing yourself and protecting yourself and acting as if we can trust other women and yet not allowing people to just walk all over you. Like I find that balancing act almost every day in this space. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I feel so much resonance with that, especially, I mean, my personal experience of it is the fear of like balancing that, wanting to reach out and talk and, connect with people in this space, and then having that fear and seeing it like play out as well, like people just blatantly taking the information or what you've shared with them and taking it for themselves and then using it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's kind of like a little bit of thievery that we can be scared of as well in this space. And I think that that's also why we're a bit apprehensive about connecting and sharing as well, because there are, like, let's be honest, there are a lot of people here who have not the best intentions and that struggle with the creativity and stepping into themselves. And I don't hold resentment towards that. I just want to help people. I just want these people to transcend that and find themselves. But I mean, the truth is, it's an issue here.
Yeah, it really, really, really is. And we've got many stories to back this up, people, because it's not just like, okay, this has happened once. It's like this is happening over and over again, not just to people that we know, but we're seeing it from, like even Natalia Benson sharing the other day. She's like, people are sharing my stuff and they're not giving me credit. Like, big people in the coaching industry are sharing this, and it's just horrible. But I think that, again, this comes from, like you said, people are just not feeling safe enough to be authentic. And that's sad as hell, but that doesn't give them any right to take work, to steal work, and to step into your world and take it for their own. So I think protection in this space is really big, but also you have to have this courage to step out and go, well, fuck it. Like, I don't care if anybody takes this, because ultimately it's mine. And I know, or it's come from me. And I know that even if they were to take it, like, what good is it really going to do them anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard Victoria Washington say a few weeks ago about soul codes, and when something is a regurgitation of someone else's soul code. And that hit me straight in the heart center when she said that, because it's something that I pick up on constantly. I know when someone isn't regurgitating their own codes. And there's a lot of people think that they can get away with it, but it's really blatant, because it's kind of like an animal dressing up as another animal and trying to, like, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm kind of think of a really great analogy, but
shapeshifter, honestly.
Yeah, and it's just, it doesn't resonate, and then it doesn't resonate because we don't know it doesn't resonate, but they would know that what they're putting out and regurgitating is not resonating because it doesn't get the traction frequency wise and in magnetism, in like bringing through souls and connecting with the souls that it's supposed to connect with. And it's like the puzzle piece doesn't actually end up matching up in vibrational frequency, and it's just like static, like there's nothing there.
Yeah, totally. I'm just wondering, I can really see how this cycle is playing out, because you've got people coming into this space, right? They want to be seen as if they're doing good. They want to be seen as if they're actually making impact. They want to be put on the pedestal a little bit. Like, let's just be real. Everybody who enters this space just wants to feel like they're making some sort of achievement. So by going out and regurgitating posts that are doing well by other creators, then you feel like you're getting somewhere. But then when you don't get that traction, you feel like crap, you feel inauthentic, and then you go back to square one. So what I would say to people who want to enter this space and who want to come in here with soul codes on fire, fully in line with their authenticity, fully in tune with what they're meant to do, just cut out the noise. Set those protection barriers up and really cleanse your energy every single day. And when you are like brainstorming for content, do not go on social media for inspiration. That was the least favorite tip I'd ever gotten in one of the programs that I did for like social media content. It was like, go and have a look at what other posts are doing well. I was like, why the fuck would I do that? Because then it's not coming from me. That doesn't make any sense, you know? But you would do, like, I totally did that. I went, I had a look. Okay, cool. So like this topic is doing well at the moment. Maybe I'll create something like that. And like you said, no traction because it's not coming from what's alive within me. And you have to figure out, what am I moving through right now? And how can I communicate that to a community and open up a conversation? Not like, what information can I drop on people so that I look good in this space and people will accept me?
Yeah, or like that makes me look knowledgeable or like connected. You know, it's not about that. It's I think too, like the key here is for anyone who wants to move forward with this is to like funnel their life into it.
Yes.
Like, and go do fun things, go do things that interest you, go like light your own fire and then funnel that into what you're sharing with the world. People want to hear about your life. People want to hear about your experiences and not someone else's costume that you're putting on, you know. It's really important. It's so boring. It's so boring just seeing the same squares constantly and seeing the same shit every day. Like, how many times do you want to hammer in one message?
Yeah. Like I've heard it on 6 other static posts today already. Come on, guys. I hear you. That's so right. Because we, like, by nature, we're nosy people. Like, we're humans. We want to know what other people are doing in their life. We want to know how this specific technique actually relates to you as a human being who lives a life outside of posting content. Like, we want to know what's going on. And by you just posting like 3 ways to protect your energy, or, you know, we want to see you actually doing it. Like, I love your freaking reels where you're like actually doing the cleanse with us. So we feel like we're in the room and doing these things, because that can't be replicated. That can't be put into a click. That can't be copy and pasted. We want you. So break the freaking cycle around static posts that don't mean anything and that could be replicated, and actually invite us into your life. And I know that's going to trigger a lot of people, because a lot of us, me included, have deep wounds about being seen and being vulnerable and being judged. And it's just another way for you to move through the layers of that and actually heal it as well.
Yeah. Yes. I think as well that we've kind of been taught to do this in a way with how social media, especially Reels and TikTok, like the cool thing is to like catch on to the trend, right? We're told that you only get traction if you find a trend and then do like your version of the trend.
Yeah.
And I just, as much, and like I've done it before, and I'm like, but you feel like an echo. It just becomes this big echo chamber of the same post. And I recently started like trying to be a little bit more active on my TikTok account. It's like crickets. And I was like, I'll give it a go. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing over there, but I'm trying. But I just am not warming to it at all, because I mean, I thought Instagram was bad. Holy moly. All it is over there is just the same trends repeated. And I can't resonate with it. I just can't do it. I'm going to have to leave soon because I can't do it. And it just teaches, I feel like it's hammering in like just the wrong message around authenticity and producing and sharing.
Yeah, I hear you. I do. You know, I was intrigued by TikTok because it was like, we value authenticity. We want people to just share their life. Like, I heard some TikTok person who was giving a training on it, and I went to a training and she was saying, You know, we want to, it's like unfiltered basically is what she was saying. But you're so right, because anything that clicks on now, anything that's viewed by people is the trending audio, it's the trending dance, it's like all of this stuff. So I don't know how that makes in, but that makes total sense. And I was the same. I think I've posted like 6 videos on there and I'm like, I just can't be bothered. I just feel like I can't say what I need to say in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't use the right audio, or you're not doing the right movements, or doing it in a way that is pleasing the algorithm, then you just don't, they don't share it anyway, and no one hears your message. So I find it really contradictory to what they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And it's just teaching us the wrong lesson. You know, that's not what should be encouraged. Authenticity should be encouraged, and exploration of how to share should be encouraged in this space. So I really do have the compassion and empathy for people who are struggling with this, because it's like, it's all we know at the moment, because pretty much everything is based on social media when it comes to showing up in this community and the business. Like, yes, we all have our own spiritual community outside of the online platform, but the online platform is huge. And it's where we do most of our connecting these days, especially after spending 3 years in and out of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hammered this message into everyone that, you shouldn't branch out and do something different. You need to do what's trendy. And I just encourage everyone to try and go against the grain a little bit. It's so refreshing.
Yeah.
Oh, I have so much time for people that just get out there and do whatever the fuck they want. I can't guarantee the likes, but I will respect that. I find there's a lot of strength and authenticity in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because it's hard. I mean, we're going like up against, like you said, that societal expectation that we do what everybody else is doing. But then you're also rubbing up against this part of you that wants to be authentic, that wants to just be seen as you. And what matters more to you, showing up like everybody else, or actually sharing your truth and sharing things that are actually going to resonate with people and not just get lost in the crowd? I think that's the biggest thing for me this year, is like, I don't want to be lost in the crowd. I don't want to be lost in the static one by one anymore. Like, I want my life to mean more than just words on a page. I want it to mean something, and you can't get that by copycatting.
Yeah, there's no impact in replicating people's soul codes. There's no impact. The impact's already been put into the universe. So anything like that you do that's replicating that, it's just an echo of the person who has placed that into the field, right? There's so much impact in bringing through what your soul wants to share.
Yeah.
And it's going to resonate and vibrate through the waves and reach people, and just, it's going to help people. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to challenge everybody right now to do something that just actually comes from you. If you don't even know what that is, because I know that feeling, just spend some time away from absorbing social media and move into a creative space. Move into a, how can I come into this space and actually provide something meaningful, rather than just sitting here scrolling, falling into that toxic cycle. Do something and put something out there that doesn't go with the grain. That's actually the opposite of the trend, because that's when you're going to find people. And again, what is the freaking point of having all of these followers that actually don't align with you? What is the point? Doesn't make sense.
It's just
stop doing that, please.
Yeah, it's just ends up being noise in a sea of this like a mess. I don't know. It's just not a vibe. Also, what's coming through is, to bring this full circle again, in operating from this space of authenticity and bringing through, your own soul codes, I feel like that breaks that cycle of clickiness too, like in a way, because you meet your soul family in doing that, because people resonate on such a deep level. You end up bringing in your soul family and creating that beautiful community, and it kind of like dissipates the clickiness.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's so true, right? I love that. What a beautiful note to finish up on.
Yeah, no one can replicate that.
No one can replicate you at all. And this space is ready to see you, like truly. It is more ready than it has ever been to support you in being your most authentic, vulnerable, high vibrational self. And all that matters is that you are trusting yourself.
Yeah, we're moving from this age of Aquarius. We're moving from into this age of Aquarius. So we're breaking these robotic cycles of just doing what every other minion is doing. And we're really branching out on our own path and expressing ourselves in different ways and exploring that and stepping into this, all-encompassing identity and sharing it with people. So I really would love to invite people into doing this. Take the next week and just see in what way you can express your own unique soul codes, and take note of how people resonate with that compared to how they normally resonate with the things that you're sharing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Well, guys, if you love this episode, we've got so many more coming out for you. So make sure to like and subscribe. We'd love to just get some feedback too around how this is resonating with you, what you'd love to see on the podcast in the future. And don't forget to come and join us over on Instagram at the Divinely Human Podcast. But thank you for this beautiful conversation. I feel like ready to just go and post about whatever the fuck I want to.
Let's do it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.